Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, taking a look at a Houston Texans 2023 NFL mock draft. This is not the first one we did. I was actually a massive fan of the one we did a couple weeks ago. Bryce Young, Miles Murphy, John Michael Schmitz, Jalen Hyatt in the first four picks. Getting into another one now. Before we get into it, this is our first one we're doing post free agency. So a little bit more of a clear picture on what the Texans want to do in this 2023 NFL draft. But I just want to say thank you to you guys. There's just been so much support. The last Texans mock draft, a ton of comments, a ton of feedback. And that's what you love about draft season. And I just can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown. I love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. So two things. One, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Get locked in for some more NFL draft content. And two, let me know in the comment section how you guys think the mock went. Even if you disagree, let's talk about some prospects. Let's talk about some position needs and fits. I appreciate all the support you guys have shown. Now, let's get into it. So, this is the first time we're not getting Bryce Young, right? Panthers go Bryce Young. Houston Texans, I think the easy pick here is CJ Stroud. A couple of things I like about CJ Stroud. Bryce Young is my quarterback one. That being said, CJ Stroud is awfully close. And I almost think a better landing spot for CJ Stroud is the Panthers. I love CJ Stroud's game. You go back and watch the 2022 film, even the last two games when he played Michigan and then he plays Georgia. Both games they ended up losing. That was not because of CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is the most accurate passer in this class. He has the size, he has the arm strength. I love everything about CJ Stroud's game when the game is structured. I think where you give Bryce Young the edges, creating outside the pocket, extending plays. I think CJ Stroud is capable of doing it. And I think even in some interviews, he said, I need to weaponize my athleticism and legs a little bit more. In terms of a pure pocket passer, CJ Stroud's accuracy is next level. You will watch him throw at the combine. I don't think that dude missed a single throw. So if you are getting CJ Stroud, I think it is very important for the Texans to surround him with some talent and keep him protected. Because when it is coming from a pure pocket passer, CJ Stroud is the best in the class, and I think he can excel. I think he can be a Super Bowl champion quarterback if he's surrounded with some good protection and some good wide receivers. You're going to get in CJ Stroud. When you just say like he gets it from an accuracy standpoint, layering throws, hitting players in stride, that is CJ Stroud. Now pick 12. Man, would it be fun to get Jackson? That's my ideal. And I'm talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba and CJ Stroud. The chemistry they showed, and I get it's college, it was like Tom Brady and Julian Edelman. Like Jackson Smith-Njigba was his go-to receiver in 2021 when they had guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, two guys who went top 15 in the 2022 NFL draft. I think pairing those two up again would be very beneficial for CJ Stroud's development. In terms of Jackson Smith-Njigba is, in my mind, the most QB-friendly quarterback or wide receiver in this class. He knows how to get open. He knows how to hit. In terms of man coverage, he's very good at creating separation very early in his route tree. In terms of zone coverage, he just gets where to sit down his routes in those pockets, creating a nice target for the quarterback. There's a reason CJ Stroud, when he was at Ohio State in 2021, he was going to Jackson Smith-Njigba over guys like Chris Olave, over guys like Garrett Wilson. That's because JSN just gets the position. Now, at 12, Quentin Johnson is still a guy that I like a lot. Quentin Johnson's game, I think the ceiling is so high. I think he has a little bit to go. He has freakishly long arms. He has a 41-inch vertical. That being said, he does not play above the rim as much as you would like in terms of going up and getting those 50-50 balls. If he can develop that in his game, because how explosive he is for the size that he is truly next level. I mean, I think the ceiling is like a DeAndre Hopkins cut guy. I think he still needs to put together aspects of his game. But in terms of ceiling, Quentin Johnson's ceiling is the highest in this 2023 NFL draft. Pick 33, again, you could go a lot of different ways. We want John Michael Schmitz, and I think that would be a really, really good pick. Taking a look at who's available, I know a lot of fans were talking about getting a guy on the interior that can be kind of a force. That being said, I'm not quite there on Mazi Smith being a top 35 guy. I like Mazi Smith. You all know I'm a Michigan fan. I'm not quite sold on him yet. So I'd probably wait to go, and you take a look at some interior defensive linemen you can get a little bit later in this draft. We got to find it here. Here we go. Mozzie Smith, Siaki Ika, and I really like guys like Keanu Benton. In terms of a two-gapper, Keandre Coburn, Moro Ajomo. There's some other guys that I would probably wait on in addressing that position. Osiris Torrance would have been a really nice pick. I'm going to go in, and we're just going to eat our vegetables a little bit and go get Steve Avila. What I like most about Steve Avila and what I like more about him than a guy like Osiris Torrance is the versatility. He can play center, he can play guard, and he's really, really good. Do I think he has the ceiling of an all-pro? Maybe not. But I think Steve Avila, you feel really confident about him coming in and being really good. Kind of the opposite of Kenyon Green, right? Kenyon Green last year, like high ceiling, but just did not put it together. I'm not sold on Kenyon Green. I still think he can be a good pro, but from what you saw, you weren't exactly thrilled with his development year one. Pick 65, Cody Mock would be a nice little get too. Pick 65, I really do. Did we get Carl Brooks last time we ran this draft? I don't think we did. I would really like. Is Darnell Wright on the board too? Let's see. I would like to check this tackle class real quick. He's not on the board. Yeah, we're gonna go get Carl Brooks, and Carl Brooks is one of my favorites. I like you. Eli Ricks would be a nice get. We're gonna get Carl Brooks though. Stick to the script here. Carl Brooks, you guys see where I talk about. We're gonna pause this draft, talk a little bit about Carl Brooks though, real quick. Carl Brooks is a really interesting prospect, right? He's 6'4", 300 pounds, played on the edge most of his time at Bowling Green. And quite frankly, that was just because he is the best player on Bowling Green. I mean, but the bend and the burst he has, he'll play that 3-tech on the inside in his career. But the bend and burst he has, in my mind, is really next level. You see the 23.8 pass rush win rate. You see the 49 quarterback hurries. Like this dude, it's rare to find interior defensive linemen who can get after the passer. If you guys have been listening to me a lot, I've kind of like planted my flag in Carl Brooks, if you will, because I think it's rare to see an interior defensive lineman have the power, the bend and burst that Carl Brooks has. I think interior defensive linemen or offensive linemen are going to have trouble not only with the power in this dude's hands, but the athleticism he has. I think Carl Brooks is a really good pick. Here we are at 73 now. We've addressed a decent amount of what we need. Now I think you're just looking to go get some really good players. I think this cornerback group is really good. You take a look. I want to take a look at what we have going in the cornerback room. You obviously have Stingley. I think you could use another cornerback, even if it's a nickel guy. Hodges Tomlinson's a guy that I really like. Jalen Jones is nice. In terms of athletic traits, like he pretty much checks the box off of everything you're really looking for. I don't think the ball skills are quite there, but 6'2", 200 pounds. He's rangy. He puts his hands on you. That's where he wins. He wins with his play strength. And I think DeMeco Ryans in this new defense is going to look for physical cornerbacks that can jam wide receivers, and then you can get after quarterbacks. I think Jalen Jones would be a very nice fit in this defense. And Jalen Jones is a guy that I'm quite high on in this draft class. 104, 161. Man, we got a lot of picks here. 104. Garrett Williams still on the board. That would be a nice pick. Moro Ajomo, kind of a similar guy, a little too similar in my opinion to a guy like Carl Brooks. So we're probably going to pass on him. Keandre Coburn. So a lot of Houston fans saying we got to get better against the run. You want to know who's going to get you better against the run? It's going to be big Keandre Coburn. You want to work on. I like what they did. Littleton, Perryman at that linebacker spot. Want to know the best way to make linebackers' life a hell of a lot easier? It's getting a guy like Keandre Coburn, who's quite frankly, this dude's just a fire hydrant. And you see where he wins with his leverage, right? Low pad level because he's 6'2". He's 332 pounds. He takes on double teams like it's his job. And he also has like a little bit of pass rush ability too. And so I feel like a lot of people only see him as like that nose tackle two-gapper. He can also get after the passer as well. He's a pretty good athlete for his size. Keandre Coburn's another guy that's really high on my board in terms of who I like. Once we got so many day 3 picks. This is why I love picking for the Texans. So many picks you can like talk about. A ton of my players that I like to talk about. I like this. 161 coming up. I wouldn't mind going up and grabbing. Is McClendon Curtis still on? McClendon Curtis always gets sniped for me. He would be a really nice get. Wouldn't mind taking a look at another center here, like maybe a guy like Alex Forsythe. Although I think that might be a little bit of a reach. Probably stick to just best player available here. See who's on the board. Edge rusher, maybe something you want. Yaya Diaby. Yaya Diaby's he's a freak in terms of his pass rush and the ability and the physical traits. He tested extremely well. Kind of plays all over the field for Louisville. They had some weird defensive fronts. DeMeco Ryans also likes to play some kind of weird different looks. Yaya Diaby is a guy that can kind of do it all at 265 pounds. I think he's going to really excel as a pass rusher, especially with those traits. And again, guy like DeMeco Ryans in that defense, you want the freaks. Give me the guys who have all the traits in the world that I can coach up to get a little bit more better at rushing the passer technique-wise. Yaya Diaby, probably not as polished as you want, but man, can he get after the passer. You've addressed the interior. You've addressed the edge. I liked what the Houston Texans did in terms of drafting last year. I mean, Stingley. I still like Kenyon Green. Jalen Petrie was another guy that was really high on my boards. Pick 188. Maybe add another receiver. We got any sleeper receivers here? I feel like I feel you got Quentin Johnson, but Bryce Ford Wheaton. We haven't talked about Bryce Ford Wheaton enough. Now, my worry is he's kind of similar to Quentin Johnson, but you have your kind of guy like Robert Woods and John Mechie. Bryce Ford Wheaton, take a look at this. 6'4", 220, 40-inch vertical, 4.38 speed. When you watch his film, you're like, okay, this is a guy that just wins with his big body and physicality. No, he's actually a phenomenal athlete as well. You didn't see it as much on the film, and that's something that you want to, okay, you're this big athletic dude, play that way. I don't think he's necessarily saw that from Bryce Ford Wheaton, but I mean, in terms of the physical traits being there, I think you saw a lot of people make that mistake with DK Metcalf. Big guy, runs extremely well, extremely explosive, and then you're just like, it wasn't necessarily there on the film at Ole Miss. And so he fell to the third round. Don't make that mistake with Bryce Ford Wheaton. He's a guy that's really big. He's really fast and explosive. Go get him, coach him up. I really do like Bryce Ford Wheaton as like a day 3 pick here. Man, we got so many picks, 201, 203 coming up. I would say get a running back after Dameon Pierce, but you don't need one. Antonio Mafi, he's another guy that I really like. Let's say, do we have Alex Forsyth on the board here? Yeah, Alex Forsyth. This is a guy that's just extremely solid. He's played a lot of football. You see 10 games in 2021, 12. He's dealt with some injuries, but a lot of offensive snaps, a lot of experience. He's a very good pass protector. Maybe not the most explosive, powerful dude, but in terms of a day 3 target that you feel pretty good about coming in and being a day 1 starter, being a guy who's ready to play, Alex Forsyth is there for me with that. Ricky Stromberg's another guy to take a look at. Another pick right off the bat, 203. Antonio Mafi would be a nice get. Will Mallory, I know Brevin Jordan didn't really work for Miami, but Will Mallory would be kind of a nice get. Elijah Higgins, I think, should play tight end. He's a guy that's 230. I think we got to just keep in mind best players available. I like this linebacker group. Let's go back and take a look at some of these linebackers we can get late in this draft. Is Carlton Martial still on the board? Carlton Martial, did we get him last time? Because he's been a guy that I like to get if I had the opportunity to get. We did not. Carlton Martial, I mean, FBS tackle, historic tackling. He's had the most tackles in FBS history. He's played a lot of football. The biggest thing that you're concerned about is he's 5'9", 200. I mean, he is literally my height. He's definitely a lot bigger than me, but he's my height. That's concerning. But in terms of instincts, finding the ball carrier, I think Carlton Martial has all that. And especially even if he's not going to be a starting linebacker, he's going to be a guy that's really good on special teams. I think you just trust the tape on that one. Carlton Martial is a very good player. 230 and 259 coming up. Again, finding just some diamonds in the rough here. Do we go up and grab a backup quarterback? Aiden O'Connell still on the board? Probably not. Could go a lot. We've already taken 2 wide receivers. I wouldn't mind seeing if there's like any quarterbacks left? No. I think you're sticking to best player available here. Either building the trenches Jaden Hazelwood, former 5-star, formerly one of the highest rated wide receivers that 24/7's ever graded. Dante Stills is another guy that I like. I like AJ. We're going to get AJ Finley, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's got the length, just hasn't seen it on the field that much, but I think he's a guy that has a lot of traits, and especially when it comes to being a special teamer, I think he's got it. I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to get the ultimate gadget guy in Malik Cunningham. Malik Cunningham's a guy that he's not going to be a starting quarterback, but I think there's some things that I think NFL teams are going to like about his game. He's a really interesting one. I don't think he'll play quarterback at the next level, but he'll be a good football player. CJ Stroud, A+, Quentin Johnson, A. I love getting CJ Stroud and then getting him a weapon, whether it's JSN, whether it's Quentin Johnson. I think that is the recipe for the Texans. And quite frankly, I think it'd be the same if you got Bryce Young, right? If you got Bryce Young, you're still looking for JSN or Quentin Johnson at that 12th pick. Steve Avila, not a sexy pick, but just a really good football player. John Michael Schmitz could also be that pick as well. Steve Avila is growing on me. I don't think he'll be an all-pro, but I think he's going to be a guy that's really, really safe with a very high floor. Carl Brooks, I'm going to get him in every draft if he's there outside the top 50. Keandre Coburn's a guy that I again, not necessarily a sexy pick, but you all asked for a big run stuffer. Keandre Coburn is that. Bryce Ford Whedon, probably one of my favorite picks in this draft. Again, you don't teach 6'4", 224, 3840. Really, really good skill there. I like how this draft played out. Again, appreciate you guys checking us in. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.